And a lot of people are interpreting it as, why did you cut off the fuel? Whereas fuel is not mentioned anywhere. The context is not given, nor is the timestamp. When was this conversation? At what stage of the flight? It could be before start, after start, during taxi, after takeoff. It could be anywhere. But why has this been planted here is basically a diversion, and the Western media has latched onto it, straight away blaming the pilots that the pilots cut off the fuel supply.
So you also wrote, compare this report to other major accidents like the Ethiopian airline crash in March 2019, where early reports included technical diagrams, full transcripts, multiple safety recommendations. The contrast is stark. Please elucidate.
So when we talk about time in the CVR, it is not just hours, minutes, seconds. It is much more that. You can't say immediately after. You have to specify how many seconds or 0.5 seconds in that unit. And you cannot say 1 second later. It could be 1.25, 1.5. So this is a very loosely termed report. And when you compare with the Ethiopian one, it had the full flight data recorder snapshot, which is a graph basically of different parameters so that we can interpret, and there is continuity. The CVR transcript, and if there is a system affected, like we are focusing on the fuel control switches, then the system diagram is given and how does the system operate from the manuals, so that you have some kind of an understanding how the system operates. Here we are totally clueless, or the reader is clueless. It could be anybody, technical or non-technical. And then there were recommendations. Here there are no recommendations. So there were a lot of failures, like there was one service information bulletin which was issued about the switches lock getting disengaged, and which was not performed by Air India. So were there any recommendations? Now I believe a lot of airlines worldwide are carrying out those checks. So why did the report not recommend the ELT, Emergency Locator Transmitter, which is supposed to act on about the 3.2 Gs, did not activate, which means had the aircraft accident site been an ocean or in a deep forest, you wouldn't have found the aircraft. So that is the emergency locator transmitter. And in certain cases, they have been found after months. So this is a recommendation. Why don't you check it fleet-wide? The flight data recorder itself got damaged. It has a capacity of 3,800 Gs. This was much less. How did that get damaged? And they have not said that 100% of data has been downloaded. They have only listed the number of hours. So there could be glitches inside it. Either you say with confidence that the entire data has been downloaded successfully and is validated.
Do you think do you think there is an attempt to form a narrative against pilot and avoid a scrutiny of the aircrafts?
Clearly, when the CEO of Air India comes out and makes a statement, gives a statement that there is no technical glitch either with the aircraft or the engines. But this report is not supposed to. At any point during the course of the investigation, things might turn upside down, 180 degrees. So you can't give yourself a clean sheet based on a preliminary report. That is not the intention. So everything is still under scrutiny. Anything can change anytime. But the whole narrative is being drawn towards the pilot. Like I said, nowhere did the fuel word figure in. People have added the fuel word, or it has been diverted in such a manner that they start thinking about fuel, that the pilot cut off the fuel.
You also made a very important point about the ram turbine engine, RAT. You write that the issue is that this turbine doesn't deploy instantly. It takes a few seconds to come out after both engines stop. Yet in images, it is already visible when the aircraft is barely a few stories off the ground. That means the engines must have failed before the time mentioned in this report. So which is wrong, camera images or AIB report's timeline? Sir.
Yeah, so to validate, there are a number of pieces of evidence. So you have the DFDR, which gives a timestamp, but then you have to cross-check the primary evidence with other evidences, because the DFDR does not record the physical position of the fuel control switch. It records, if I can say, the electronic signal which is transmitted. And it could be possible that electronic signal erroneously transmits and closes the fuel valve without the fuel switch physically being changed. So that is also a possibility. And there is a circular regarding that about the chip and the motherboard. If in 11,000 hours you don't do the kind of maintenance. So the possibility is there. Now, if you look at the report, it gives you the airborne time at 0839. Then it says at 4:02, the aircraft achieved a max speed of 180 knots, about 330 kilometers. And soon after that, the fuel control switches. What is soon after that? If you have the whole data, you say 1 second after that. But then next line, they say 1 second after the first fuel cutoff, the second was cut off. So one point you say, you are very loosely worded, then you say 1 second, right? And in the further paragraph, they say immediately after takeoff, the ram air turbine deployed. So what is immediately after takeoff? I say as soon as of takeoff for 39. So if 39 or 40 the ram air turbine deployed, it takes about a second for the ram air turbine to drop. And for the system to detect that there is a failure, dual engine failure, it will take a second or two. So 3 seconds. So we come back, if 4:02 we see that ram air turbine deployed, which means the engine failed at 39, which is the airborne time. So the point of discussion is whether the engine failed before the fuel cutoff switches were recorded to have been moved or after. Every evidence points to before. Why didn't they give the time of the ram air turbine deployment when they can give the point at which the hydraulic pressure starts developing of the ram air turbine? So that's a complicated thing. Give a simple thing, ram air turbine deployed at this time. We know. Nevertheless, they have given at 0847, the hydraulic pressure from the ram air turbine started developing. 47, if you work backwards, 5 seconds, and further 2 or 3 seconds, we come back to the same point, 39, which is the lift-off point. So the timeline doesn't match. That is the question. Why don't you give the data? Why? It should be transparent. Why are you hiding the data or controlling the narrative?
Mr. Singh, let me ask you a difficult question, sir.
Yeah.
What is your assessment?
My assessment is that the engine has failed. Technical issue, software issue, that needs to be investigated. But certainly not a pilot induced fuel cutoff, which is being projected.
Are you saying engines failed because of electrical, mechanical issues and there was no human angle involved?
Correct. So like I said, there are hundreds of CCTV cameras around the airport. Why was only one snapshot given, and that too without a timeline? Timestamp has to be there on every CCTV. The timestamp is not there. But as soon as the accident happened, two videos surfaced. One was the aircraft taking off. If you look at that, just before takeoff, there's a plume of smoke or something like that coming out from the engines. That is typical of an engine failure. So why did this investigation not look at that aspect when there is evidence which is evident that there is something has happened here at this stage? So why didn't the investigation look at that? And when an engine fails, there are multiple warnings and horns and other visual indications, audio indications which come in the cockpit. None of them has figured in the preliminary report.
Okay.
What was happening for the 10 seconds between the fuel cutoff and the fuel run? Were they carrying out some checklist or procedure? So that is missing, completely missing.
Okay. I think
pieces.
Absolutely. I think you have raised a lot of pertinent questions, and I hope in the final report, the questions that you have raised are addressed to everyone's satisfaction. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for joining me on Point.
Thank you very much.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर एंकर टूथपेस्ट, नए जमाने की नई सुरक्षा.
This is the drive of your dreams.